Hey, hey. All right, welcome to day 2 of Heart to Heart Sales Conversations That Convert. Super excited. I actually, I just had a little like dance break for myself. So I'm listening to Sia's The Greatest, so I have it still stuck in my head. Doing some pre warm ups for this challenge to get in the zone, get excited. So I'm curious if you have any warm ups or pre things that you do for your own content and your own challenges and all that kind of good stuff. So today we are talking about actually pre rituals. Hi, kitty, kitty. Oh, sorry. We're talking about pre rituals. We're talking about, we're talking about how to, really deal with the nerves that you have before sales calls and what to do about them. So yesterday we talked about, if you missed it, there's replays. Make sure you go to salesconversations.convertidealclients.com to get the replays and also to get the reminders for the rest of the week. So we have a lot going on this week, every single day at noon Central Standard Time, doing different days of this challenge to make sure that by Friday, you are ready to have some heart-to-heart, genuine, authentic feeling sales conversations that actually convert, where you are not feeling manipulative, icky, pushy, sleazy, slimy, salesy, any of that icky stuff, but really connecting with people and really serving them in a powerful, powerful way. And helping them say yes to themselves through your work if that's a good fit for them. So let me see if I can, I feel like I'm breaking up a little bit. The internet looks like it's going kind of slow, so let me see if I can fix it real quick. I might get cut off. Okay. So yesterday we talked about authenticity in your sales conversation. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do. We talked about using, you want to ask yourself, are you using sales to fill a hole within you? Are you using it to get validation? Are you hustling for approval and worthiness? Are you coming at your sales conversations from a place of inherent worthiness where you can show up genuinely and authentically and just simply serve versus needing any kind of affirmations or approval? So today, we're going to break it down even further into the two biggest parts of a sales conversation where people lose their confidence. We're going to talk about what to do if you've ever felt so nervous right before a call because it's your only prospect this week, right? And you feel like you really, really, really need to make this sale. We've all been there. My clients have been there. I've been there. So how do you deal with that? And then you also we're going to talk about how you keep your confidence when you've just had this amazing conversation with a prospect. You're like vibing, you feel really connected, and it's time to make the offer. It's time to ask for the money. And, suddenly you clench up, you start to rush through it, you feel really scripted that you lose your momentum and your connection. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to deal with that. And then bonus, we're also going to talk about why when you make the offer, you're desperately hoping that they're going to say yes, but then also you kind of feel relieved when they say no. So it's super common, so we're going to talk about that too. So you can double your sales, your impact, your reach, and your income in 2017. And I just want you to think about what would be possible. How could your business explode? How could your impact, how could your reach explode if you actually loved sales? And it's possible when you have heart-to-heart sales conversations. So you are in the right spot if you are a service-based entrepreneur. You're someone who is an expert in what you do, or you aspire to be seen as an expert. But you absolutely are passionate about what you do day to day, how you serve people, how you help people. The actual work lights you up. And honestly, you want to spend less time doing marketing and sales. You've been hustling to fill the pipeline, hustling to keep it full. It's exhausting, and it means less time for you to do the work that you actually love to do. And so you want to do less sales and marketing, but create more clients more quickly. And get back to being in your zone of genius and doing the work that you love with clients that you absolutely adore. So you are in the right place. All right. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you haven't yet, make sure that you register Make sure that you register at salesconversations.convertidealclients.com so you get reminders every single day, access to the replays, you can listen over and over again. And you're also going to get the link to my Facebook group where all the action takes place after the call, where you can share your ahas, your insights. If you have questions, make sure you save them till the end, share them in the Facebook group. I'm happy to go in there and answer them. After the call. So come to network, come to share your takeaways and the actions that you're going to take, follow-up questions. Number 2, housekeeping. You know, it's really important to me, if you've listened to my challenges before, it's really important to me, this is your precious time. You know, this is a precious resource that you have. You have 3 resources, time, money, and energy. And time is an incredibly precious resource. And so you came here, you showed up here, whether it's live or on the replay, and you're using your precious time. So I want you to use this to reinforce self-trust. Being an entrepreneur means using all of your resources. It means using all of them. But it means that you have to take action on those resources. You have to use them fully. You have to use them completely. And so you have to try things, you have to test things. To implement things. And so in doing all those things, you are building self-trust that when you take on resources, when you spend time, money, and energy doing something, you create a result. And only you can do that. So I want you to use this challenge. I want you to use this day today, this training today to reinforce self-trust. I want you to acknowledge the little wins, the little tweaks that you make and how that impacts even how you feel in your sales conversations and ultimately the different kind of results that you're going to get. And then I want you to come share it again in the Facebook group so that we can hold you accountable. If you are going to use this and take some action on it, please come share it in the Facebook group so we can hold you accountable to that. So really excited about that. And then finally, please share this with friends who need this. I know you know some people who are brilliant at what they do, but they're just not getting the recognition that they deserve. They're not getting paid what they're worth, and they're not attracting ideal clients because they really don't. So people need their brilliance, right? And they just haven't figured out kind of how to unlock that key to help people understand what their brilliance is. So please make sure you share it. Okay, let's dive right on in. Dealing with nerves before the call. So when you feel nervous before a sales conversation, nerves of any kind are pretty much pointing to attachment to the result. So if you've ever heard that, attachment to the result. It means that you really, really strongly care about the result. Now, there's nothing wrong with caring, and we're not going to go numb. Like that's not really the alternative to, non-attachment is not the same as detachment. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, but you want to look at what am I attached to? What result am I specifically attached to? And typically it tends to be trying to avoid some kind of pain. Usually you could say you're attached to pleasure, but generally speaking, it's, with humans, it's a lot about avoiding pain. So some sort of perceived pain. So maybe you're nervous that they're going to say no, and then, because they say no, you don't get the money that you wanted and you can't afford something that you really wanted to buy this month. Or maybe on the flip side, you're nervous that they're going to say yes, and you'll have to live up to the promises that you've made, right? So either way, you want to dig into the nerves. Like, what is it? What are you nervous about? Don't let yourself stay on the surface. Really dig into what am I nervous about and why am I nervous about that? And you can ask yourself the why 5 times. And you want to dig into this question. So here are the 2 questions you want to dig into that are going to point to why you're nervous and how you start to peel back the layers to stop being nervous. Number 1, what is the worst case if I don't make this sale? Okay, what is the worst case if I don't make this sale? And number 2, what is the worst case if I do make this sale? And I know that's a little bit harder one, so you got to challenge yourself there to ask yourself that question. What is the worst case if I do make this sale? What am I afraid of if I make this sale? So generally, if you keep digging, and it requires some digging, and I'm happy to help you through this one-on-one, something I do with my one-on-one clients, they're similar. The urgency, the impatience, even the feeling of desperation is a clue to where you are self-sabotaging. So the mind thinks that getting what you want has more negative consequences than staying the same. To the mind, the devil you know beats the devil you don't, all day, every day. But the urge to create new can also be driven by the same underlying fear. So let me give you an example of what this means. And again, I can do this with you one-on-one to help you figure this out for yourself. Okay, so one of my clients, I dug into this with her, and we realized that why did she have so much urgency around making the sale? And she realized it was to prove her worthiness to her family. Like we were talking about yesterday, it's like that hustling for worthiness. And for her, proving that to her family was a really big deal, to prove that she was a success. They were a mirror of her success. So, to prove that she was actually appreciated for who she is, for her unique gifts, for who she is authentically. And to prove that that she could show up authentically and be really, really valued for that authenticity. But what was she nervous about? So on the flip side, that was the worst case in terms of not making the sale, right? But what was the worst case if she did make the sale? Guess what? Her clients not mirroring back to her worthiness, her value, her appreciation for her gifts. Once they said yes, she was going to have to continue hustling for their approval, which is exhausting, continuing to grind for their approval, And so the mind, it was sabotaging her efforts because she would see all the places where she wasn't approved of. She would see all the places where people didn't appreciate her, didn't value her unique gifts, right? And so, and so she would go into this pattern of putting herself out there, but then giving up because it was too exhausting. Repeat, putting herself out there, giving up because it was too exhausting, attracting some clients, then not, getting a cap on the number of clients that she could attract, the amount she was willing to charge for those clients. And so when she saw this pattern, she was able to stop making clients and money the determining factor of her worthiness. This is very similar to dating, right? It's for people who, they think like, oh, if I have a partner, now that means I'm good enough. People in society will see me as good enough versus like, if I'm single, there's something wrong with me. It's making that status symbol have this great meaning instead of saying like, hey, I'm in the process of not settling. Like I'm single because I'm becoming the one for myself and I'm looking for that match. I'm creating within myself this ability to be in a true love relationship, not just settling for any old relationship. And I'm not just staying single to stay single either, right? Like I'm not just like trying to be independent to be independent. I'm actively cultivating that internal relationship with myself where I'm going to get somebody who mirrors back to me that high level of self-worth. And the beauty of that is that when I do that, I can show up in a relationship in all my authenticity, in all my, I'm not having to walk on eggshells. I'm not worrying about the other person, leaving at the drop of the hat. I'm not having to manage them and be worried about boundaries because I'm getting to know myself. And the same thing is true sometimes when you're in the process of working with clients and working with figuring out who your ideal client is. And so, it's going to be the same thing, right? And so the same thing like when you're single, right? If you're hustling for your worthiness in dating and you're making, meeting somebody the ultimate, stamp of approval and worthiness, well, guess what happens when you get into that relationship? You're constantly hustling for their approval still. And it's exhausting. And the mind's like, you know what? I'd rather just be single and kind of hustle for approval than to be in a relationship and be like really hustling for approval. Like, oh my God, that's even worse. And so the mind knows that unconsciously, and that's why it's chosen what it's chosen, and it's chosen the current reality that you have. And so you can see that the nerves that you have of getting the client, of not getting the client, they tend to be the same thing. And if you're not getting clients, it's because the mind thinks that it's better to be in the status quo and be with that discomfort than it is when you get the clients. That exact same discomfort is going to be magnified. So when you can break free of that, and when my client did this, when she saw this pattern and she was able to break free of this pattern, she stopped making clients and money the determining factor for worthiness. And because of that, she was able to see opportunities that she couldn't see before. She was able to see clients that she couldn't see before. And she closed, I think it was like in the next week after observing that pattern, and even just the beginnings of starting to shift it. Because shifting a pattern is a habit. It takes some time to totally transform and to totally shift. And honestly, there's always layers and there's always levels. But for her, that first awareness, I believe it was like the next week she closed a $5,000 client. Boom, right? So it can have really huge huge implications when you're no longer reinforcing those same patterns. So you want to look at the bigger patterns for sure, so that you're not using sales to fill a deeper need. Okay, again, you're not using sales to get validation, get approval. You can't do that. People feel it, and it repels them. And it also just ultimately doesn't feel good for you either. Doesn't feel good for them, doesn't feel good for you. Okay, so you want to look at the deeper pattern for sure. And then when you understand the need that you're trying Okay, I think I'm back. So that you, when you fill that need, instead of trying to use sales to fill that need, then sales becomes really, really easy. It becomes way easier. Okay. Now, for day-to-day practice, I also recommend a pre-call ritual. So if you've got, once you're booking sales calls, once you're booking enrollment conversations, whatever you want to call them, there's a practice that I like to recommend that you do before you even get on the call. So I want you to set aside 10 minutes before your sales call, and I want you to just visualize that this person you're about to talk to, however much you know about them, maybe you have their picture, maybe you don't, maybe you know what their goals are, you did some sort of intake process, or you just know a little bit about them. I want you to imagine that they've said yes to working with you and that they show up in your program as an ideal client. They show up in your package as an ideal client. They take full responsibility, they come prepared, they're really excited, they really value you, they appreciate your suggestions, they implement your ideas, they take action on what you decide upon together. They completely appreciate and value you and your expertise, and they run with it. So I want you to just take that time, just take a couple minutes to imagine your sessions together, your time together. Imagine the work that you do for them and how excited they are about the end product, right? If you're like a copywriter or a videographer, they show up prepared to your intake conversation. And once you deliver the end product, they are just so excited about it. They use it and they get immediate results from it, right? And that they're really grateful that you came into their lives and that you did the work that you did. You did this work, right? You did this work so that you could be in their lives and support them in this way. The next thing, in this 10 minutes before your call, I recommend reinforcing a few different things to yourself. You can do it as a mantra, you can write it down, you can read it to yourself silently, you can read it to yourself out loud. You can, I have a visualization. If you ask me for it, I'm happy to share it with you. You can do it every single day. You can do it right before the call. But there are a few really key things that you want to start reinforcing to yourself. You can customize this to yourself, which of these things you like. But these are really key to reinforcing to yourself in the call so that you really stay focused on the call with what is really, really most important. All right? Number one thing you want to reinforce is that they need help to get to the next level. They need help. They need help. They can't DIY it. Or if they did, it would take them years and years and years to DIY it, right? Again, I was using this example the other day. Like they can learn the cello themselves. Maybe they can Google how to play the cello and they can do some YouTube videos or whatever, but it's going to take them 2 months to clunkily, get out, if they've never done an instrument before, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But if they work with you for a week, or a month, they can now beautifully do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and they're set up to play Pachelbel or whatever, right? So, and they're set up to play it beautifully. And so just remember that you need help to learn new skills, to do new things. Like, you need help. You cannot DIY life. Like, and why would you want to? That would be like, not having any friends and, not being in relationships and not connecting with family. You don't want to do things alone. Everything that you buy is essentially not DIYing things. Your smartphone, you decided to get somebody else's support. You decided to get somebody's help. Your Soda Stream, you've decided to get somebody's expertise and use somebody's help. So they need your help. Like, this is not like a question of like, do they need it or do they not need it? Can they DIY it? No, they can't. They cannot. Unless for some reason they are already surpassing you in your expertise, in which case, yeah, they maybe need somebody at a higher level of expertise. But otherwise, if they don't know it, if they don't know how to do it, then they need your help. Bottom line, there's nothing bad or wrong or broken about them because they need your help. It just is what it is, right? And so you just need to understand that they need help to get to the next level, whether it's you or somebody else. They absolutely need. Not want, not it's a luxury. Like, if they want to get to the next level, they need help at a certain rate, right? At a certain timeline. They absolutely need help. Number two, they don't get to use you to run away from something. Yes, you want to address their pain points on the sales call. They need to feel this sense of urgency to get this problem handled and this problem solved. But you are not available to be blamed. You are not available to save them, and you are not available to rescue them from anything. You're just there to help them create something new. And they need you to create something new. They're lucky to get to work with you. They're lucky to have found you and lucky to found that the kind of work that you do exists. And I say this because the kind of work that you do is unique to you. So even if you're an acupuncturist, the way in which you do your acupuncture is unique to you. And they're lucky to have found the way in which you do your work, right? For me, I do sales, but I combine it with Jungian spiritual psychology. There are people out there who I know are happy that that combination exists and want that deeper level of conversation and content. So they're lucky to have found you, and the kind of work that you do exists. I don't even know what number we're on now. So no matter the outcome of the call, the universe wants me to have the resources to express my purpose more than I do. And it wants them to. It wants them to have the resources to express their purpose more than I do too. More than they do too. And during the call, you want to focus not on the outcome, but simply showing up to serve for the love of the work and also for the love of sharing the work. Okay, because you can love the work, right? But if you do artwork and you're just kind of in the hills and you're doing it by yourself, that's fine. But how much more fulfilling does it feel to share the work with others? So the love of the work, the love of sharing the work. And if they say no, you lose nothing. And they miss out on the opportunity to get what they desire. And all you're there to do is to educate them on what's missing, not to convince them. Another part of the mantra that you can use is, I'm willing to be with the uncertainty on the call. You do this whole conversation with them. There's a structure to it. You have this whole conversation with them. You talk about what they want. You talk about their problems. You talk about their commitment. And you're willing to be with the uncertainty that they may or may not see the value of what you do, as long as you've done your part, as long as you've done the positioning work and you've done the structure and you're working on the mindset, right? You're willing to be with the uncertainty because you trust that there are people out there who are going to see the value, who do want the work that you have. You can focus, you can remind yourself to focus on the easy yeses, people who easily see the value and they easily see the resources to invest. And then you can also reinforce before you get on this call that when they invest in themselves through you, through the process that you provide, when they work the tools, when they act on your ideas that you come up with together, when they take your advice, they get through the roof results, and they love giving testimonials. They get through the roof results, and their lives are forever changed, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally, whether it's both. By saying yes to themselves through you, their lives are forever changed. I also like to reinforce before I get on a sales call that I enjoy doing sales conversations because I love connecting with my prospects around their hopes and dreams. And I know that our conversation, no matter the outcome, it moves them forward powerfully, perfectly, however they need. And again, I just focus on the love of the work and the love of sharing the work. And I trust that the universe wants me to have the resources to express my purpose. And I trust that the universe wants them to have the resources to express their purpose. All right. So again, you can use that however you want. You can mix it up. You can use my audio that I have. And again, if you want it, you're welcome to just let me know in the Facebook group and I will share that there. Okay, so next part of this is we want to talk about dealing with dread and making the offer. Again, you've had this amazing conversation with them. You've talked about their hopes and dreams. You've talked about their challenges. You've talked about what's not working for them. You're really connecting. You know that you can help them. You're really excited to help them. And all of a sudden you start to like clam up. If you start to procrastinate making the offer, you keep like doing some free advice and some free coaching. You have sales calls that drag on and on and on. They last for hours, or maybe they last for days or weeks. I know the sales call itself doesn't last for days or weeks, but you procrastinate making that offer because you feel like you're in such connection and you're worried that making that offer is going to break that connection. But you have to rip off the Band-Aid and you have to make the offer. And so here's the two questions that I want you to challenge yourself with this. If you're feeling dread in making the offer with people, and you're feeling like it's breaking your connection to make the offer versus truly serving them. And again, if you're having trouble with the idea of serving as selling, selling as serving, you want to go back to my challenge I did like a month ago, where we talked about like truly integrating and knowing that in your bones, selling as serving. It's a process that I talk about in that other video you can look at. But for now, for this specific part of the sales conversation, you want to ask yourself, you want to challenge yourself, do I think that them saying yes to the offer is more of a burden on their shoulders, or is saying yes a weight lifted off? If you think it's more of a burden, of course you're going to dread it. Of course you're going to dread it. But if you think that it's lifting a weight off their shoulders, you're going to be excited to share it. Now, the other question you want to ask yourself is, do I think that them saying yes to this offer is more of a burden on my shoulders or a weight lifted off? And you're going to project that idea onto this dread as well. Do I think that them saying yes is more of a burden on their shoulders or off? On my shoulders or a weight lifted off of my shoulders? So this is really similar. This is really similar to digging into your nerves. And honestly, it might be the same root. It's a different symptom. It's possible. It's likely that it's really the same root. So you want to dig really deep into this conversation, into this question. I'm happy to help you if that's something that you want to do one-on-one. What am I afraid of if they say no? What am I afraid of if they say yes? And so in doing that, in digging around, in challenging that story, when you keep digging and digging and digging, you want to challenge your story. You can't just buy into it, right? If you keep buying into the story, then yeah, you'll continue to have the exact same results. But if you start digging deep into it and you start challenging it, then you can start to be free of it. And then you're free of the dread and you're free of the self-sabotage. And more people are going to say yes because people feel that from you, right? If they feel like you think that they're going to be a burden to you, or if unconsciously you're communicating that this saying yes is more of a burden to them, they're going to say no. Of course they're going to say no. So you have to work on not only what you're consciously communicating, but what you are unconsciously communicating, because people feel that. Again, you want to look at, am I looking for them to validate me? Or am I starting off with the assumption that I'm awesome to work with? I'm also looking for the right fit, and anybody would be lucky to get to work with me. So when you start off with that assumption, you're willing to make the offer, you're willing to be with the uncertainty that they agree or disagree. You're not needing them to agree with you, and you're not looking for all the ways in which they disagree with you. Because here's the thing, when you need people to agree with you, when you need it, what you're focused on is how they disagree with you. Want me to repeat that? When you need people to agree with you, your focus becomes on all the ways in which they disagree with you. When you don't need them to agree with you, you can just see where they agree with you. You're not like constantly looking for places like, where do they disagree with me, right? So you're not needing to convince them to agree. So but when you don't need them to agree, you can open up the space to allow them to agree and to see where they agree. You can hold the vision that they agree and they're excited to work with you, and they typically will start to mirror that back to you. So once they give you an answer, once you've made the offer, you've danced with any objections that they have, you've kind of addressed any concerns that they have. I'm going to talk about that on day 5, like overcoming objections. Then I also recommend doing a post-call ritual so that you can just get progressively better and better and better at sales calls, okay? And you're not like making every single sales call the end-all be-all, right? Like every last sales call is make or break. Like if you're in that mentality, you have to be free of that. You have to challenge yourself to be free of that. And here's the other thing. If you're not getting enough sales calls, you want to work on that. You want to work on, why am I not getting enough sales calls? What am I doing here? What processes, what strategies, what can I be doing to book more sales calls? And that's something that I help my clients with as well. So you don't want every single last sales call to be make or break of your business. It's too much pressure on you. It's too much pressure on them. You want every sales call to be a learning experience where you get better and better and better at sales. So here's how you do that. So post-call ritual, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. I want you to ask, how did I feel? How did I feel on the call? Was I feeling nervous? Was I feeling dread? Was I feeling self-doubt? Was I feeling uncomfortable? Was I feeling excited? Was I feeling free? Was I feeling light? Was I feeling in love and in connection and really present? Like, how was I feeling on this call? Number two, how do I feel now? Now that the outcome has happened, how do I feel? Do I feel relief that they said yes? Do I feel relief that they said no? Do I feel disappointment? Do I feel excited? You want to check in with how do you feel now that you know the outcome of the call. You want to ask yourself, number three, was I able to hold the vision throughout the call that they would be lucky to work with me? Or was I focused on how they rejected me and disagreed with me and didn't believe me? Number four, I think we're number four. Was I willing to be with the uncertainty and not give their response, positive or negative, meaning on my value? So meaning, like, if they said no, did I mean that I did something? Do I give it the meaning that I did something wrong? Do I give it the meaning that I must not be very good at what I do? Did I give it the meaning that I did something bad? And same thing with positive, right? If they said yes, does that mean like I'm the bomb.com and I'm, it's a funny expression, that I'm awesome and now they validated me and I must be awesome, right? Or, do I just know that I'm awesome and I don't need them to affirm that or agree with that, regardless of their response? Number five, was I able to focus on the love of the work, the love of sharing the work with somebody else, or was I focused on the outcome and on them liking me? Number six, was I willing to challenge them and ask hard questions? Or did I let them get away with their surface kind of BS answers? Again, I'm going to go into more detail on that on day 5. But you want to ask, like, did I hear like hesitation in their voice, but I didn't ask them about it? Did they contradict what they said in the call and I didn't call them out on it? Not in a like mean way, right? Again, I'll talk about this on day 5, but in just a very loving, like, hey, I'm just a little confused. Like, you said this, but you also said this. So, like, I don't care which one it is, but, which is it? And why is there some contradiction here for you? So it's like, was I willing to challenge them and ask them hard questions, or did I hold back? And did I hold back because of people pleasing? And did I hold back because I was wanting them to like me, not really wanting to serve me? Was I holding back because of codependence? Did I hold back and I wasn't really willing to serve them really, really powerfully and helping them get what they need? And number 7, what are some of the major opportunities for the next call and to practice in between calls? Whether that's mindset, whether that's tactical, maybe I need to do my talking points a little bit more succinctly, a little bit more clearly. Maybe that mindset in between calls, I really need to work with my nerves. I really need to work with that, my understanding my value. And so those are 7 questions. If you come on the Facebook group, I will gladly copy paste them for you, and you can use them after every single call. So once you start to do that, you're going to start to notice your patterns on sales calls. Where do you seek approval? Where do you have codependent patterns? Where are you able to stand confidently in your value? You want to give yourself credit, right? Whenever you give yourself credit, whatever you focus on expands. So where you focus on giving yourself credit, you're just going to give yourself more and more and more credit and get better and better and better. When you're focused on all the problems that you have, like, it's a lot harder to get better, because it's never enough. Your expectations are this high, and you just keep moving the bar. It's like it's not fun to live that way. So you want to start to shift the way you think about it as not problems but opportunities. Why number 7, I said, what are the major opportunities for the next call and to practice in between, not what are the problems that I need to fix. Really important semantic difference. So focus on the wins and improvements as much as you focus on the opportunity. So last note, if you find yourself on each call in a hope disappointment cycle, right? Right before the call, you're hope. They say no, disappointment. Your next call, hope, disappointment. I want you to know it's completely normal, but it's also still pointing to attachment. It's pointing to attachment. It's pointing to an attachment, meaning wanting something external to give you something that you are craving internally. So it's like projecting that internal desire onto something external, right? So it's like, if I get this sale, then I'm worthy. If I get this sale, then I'm a success, versus seeing like there's this internal feeling that I want of worthiness and approval and success. And I'm trying to, make this external thing give it to me, when really the opportunity is for me to give it to me, for me to give me that internal sense, not need something external to do that. It's very powerless. It's very powerless to give the external that much power. So when you stop looking for the external to give you something that you can only get internally, the hope disappointment cycle is going to stop, and it won't. And the problem with the hope disappointment cycle, or the opportunity rather with the hope disappointment cycle, is that it depletes your energy. It's like, again, you put yourself out there and then you're disappointed and you're like, boom, your energy crashes. Versus like, if you're just like, cool, this person wasn't a good fit, next person, that person's a great fit, that person's a great fit, that person's a great fit, this person's not a good fit, this person's not a good fit, right? It's not going to deplete your energy. You can move on, you can connect with more and more people, and then you can connect with people who actually value you, your work, and they're going to pay you exceptionally well. So, recap: nerves, dread, impatience, rushing, hope, disappointment, all point to attachment. They point to thinking that something external is going to give you something that you are craving internally. So what you want to do is you want to dig into what is it that you want internally, challenge yourself that anything external is ever going to give that to you, give it to yourself internally, and then the external stops having so much power over you. And then you're free to create the external. You're free to, the external is going to match the internal, versus you trying to rearrange the furniture. When this happens, then I'll be happy. No, it's like, I'm going to create happiness. And guess what? When I create happiness, the external mirrors that. Like, I'm around happy people. People are happy to be with me. People are happy to give me money. People are happy to, do the work through me. All right. And then number 2, do the pre-call and post-call ritual, and it's going to strengthen your mindset on each sales call that you do. So your homework, again, remember, you're here to reinforce self-trust. You spent your precious time today. I want you to start journaling about your attachments. I want you to post in the group what you find, and I'm happy to do some laser coaching there to help you go even deeper. Because here's the thing, is that when you're not trained in any kind, when you're not trained, you don't naturally go as deep as I know you can go. It's just a skill, right? It's just something you just have to learn how to do. And that, having somebody laser coach you through it helps you start to recognize, oh, I could go deeper there. Oh, I didn't realize that I could go deep. Oh my gosh, I had no idea there was another level to that. I didn't even see it before, right? It's like, you think that's the deepest level you can go, but I'm trained to say, whoa, there's way deeper here that we can go. Cool? So make sure you share that in the Facebook group. I'm happy to laser coach you to go even deeper, start to challenge some of that. Number 2, homework, it's just the next sales call you do. Come let us know in the Facebook group. Let us know what happens when you implement the pre and post call rituals. Awesome. All right. So really excited. Tomorrow, the rest of the week, we are talking about, make sure you join us tomorrow. Day 3, we are talking about why getting on the phone is so crucial to closing and how to stop being afraid of the phone. Look, I used to be terrified of the phone, so I get it. And so if you're only slightly nervous, man, you have a very short distance to go. That's the good news. If you're only nervous about getting on the phone and you're willing to do it, you're ahead of where I was when I started. So little tweaks are going to really help you and make a huge, huge difference. And here's the cool thing about it is that, getting on the phone is not just for your clients. It's really as much for you as it is for them. So I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, about why it's just as important for you and making sure they're a good fit for you and holding your standards high as it is for serving them. Day 4, we are talking about, what are we talking about day 4? We are talking about have clients talk themselves into working with you, right? So you can stop doing so much convincing and have them convince themselves that it's the right fit to work with you. So we're going to be talking about, number 1, how to actually do that. And if there's any awkwardness in doing that for you, how to work through that so that you feel excited about it, they feel excited about it, and you get more yeses. And they come ready and excited to work with you. And you're not having to convince them through the package that they want to work with you, right? Because there's nothing worse than that, is getting somebody into a program with you, and then you're constantly having to convince them that they want to be there, right? That's not fun for you or for them. So You want them to be fully bought in, and you can have them talk themselves into working with you on the sales conversation, and then they're bought in for the whole entire package with you, and probably even beyond the package if you want to renew them or upsell them or cross-sell them or whatever. And day 5, really excited about day 5, overcoming objections authentically. Again, this is not about being pushy or sleazy. It's really about, showing up in service to them, and how overcoming objections is really an authentic thing to do. It truly is. It truly serves them. It's really, honestly, it is selfish to not address their concerns, and it is selfish to not overcome their objections, and to let them off and think about it on their own and not have your help or support in thinking about it. When you're attached to the result, yeah, it's hard to overcome objections without feeling like you're trying to push your agenda onto them. But when you are really there to serve them and you can be free of that agenda, like you're just there to help them make a decision about what's best for them. And they can feel that, right? When you have an agenda, yeah, you got to work with that agenda. Because if you're overcoming objections with an agenda, then yeah, it is kind of pushy and can feel manipulative on both sides. But when you really don't have an agenda because you trust that there are people who want to work with you, they're going to feel that like you're genuinely there to serve them and to help them make the best decision for them. And that's also going to help you double your sales and create a bigger income, bigger impact, and again, more dedicated clients, people who are there, who understand what it takes to get the results that they want. They already have their expectations managed, so they understand what's your job and what's their job and how they make those results happen that they really want, versus, being kind of unclear about what it takes to create what they want. So really excited. Again, make sure you go to salesconversations.convertidealclients.com if you want yesterday, you want the replay to all of today, and you want the reminders and everything for the rest of the week. So come join us in the Facebook group again. Any questions that you have, share the homework, make sure you do it, and use the resources that you have, including this training, including this video, to the max so that you can grow your business to what you want. All right, take care. Have a great day.